Welcome to the expedition, my friends, and today, guys, we're here with a showdown between the Empire, who shall be led by Marcus Wolfhart, and it looks like he's going to be hunting some Norskins, who shall be led by a foul marauder chieftain, who's most likely going to be up on a mammoth. Now, as far as the build goes, I think this is actually a pretty competitive build against Norsca, so let's look here in the front line. In total, we have two groups of huntsmen. Huntsmen, a very, very good choice against Norsca. They have tons of lightly armored large targets, they have skin wolves, and even armored skin wolves, I think only have like 80 or 90 armor, give or take. Yeah, they have 70, so still, they're going to be able to get some really good punch. Very good against skin wolves, good against mammoths. Mammoths are just such a juicy target for huntsmen. Again, they still have 70 armor, but huntsmen, despite their lack of AP, they do have that really nice bonus for Sludge, which just makes them hit so hard. So you can see it's +8 here. And their AP damage, let's take a look. So of the 21, it looks like only 4 of it is armor piercing, so a little bit low on the end of that end of the spectrum, but still a great unit here. So good against skin wolves, good against mammoths, also very good against giants, which are going to be a super rare pick. You're not really going to see giants, so that's really not a factor. But also, if Norsca is going to be coming in with skirmishers and marauder horsemen and javelins and throwing axes and things like that, the huntsman can range all of those threats and can actually do some really good damage. On top of that, we have Marcus Wolfhart. Marcus is an absolute monster in this matchup. He has great range at 180. He has solid armor piercing damage, a really, really good bonus for his large, which I think is quite obscene. I think it's like, a bonus for his large of 120. That is absurdly powerful. So basically, Marcus is a counter to a substantial portion of the Norscan roster. I mean, most Norscan players are going to bring Wolfric on a horse or a chariot, a mammoth. Throg is often a pick because he's pretty good against Empire Cav. So having Marcus is just anti-large beat stick is just so good. So basically, you just sit him on top of the leadership. I can snipe out the Marauder Chieftain. I can go after the Shaman Sorcerer. Plenty of good targets. And of course, nets. Nets are super good as well, because one of the better ways to play Empire against Norsca is to have like basically like a swinging wrecking ball. You have two groups of Demogryph Knights. You have the regular ones and you have the Royal Turfgryph Knights. You team them up with the Warrior Priest. And basically, you're just going to be sweeping up that back line, just getting that broom, just sweeping aside the filthy Norskins. And Marcus makes that even better because he can net them in place with a Hunter's Snare and guarantee those very juicy charges. So two demis back here, like I said, Royal Turfgryph Knights and a regular group of the Halberds. For the main core, and this is one of the things I'm really a big advocate for, I think greatswords are awesome in this matchup. Most Norscan players are going to bring Marauders and Berserkers expecting state troops. So when you come in with greatswords, this is actually going to be a matchup in which they're going to win that frontline engagement. I mean, aside from monsters helping out and things like that, they will be able to beat down most Norscan troops. They're at least a standard variance. So we have 3 of those guys. In the back, we got a couple spears, 1 group of halberds, and that's pretty much it. Now, for my opponent, the Great King of the Dead, a very, very good Norscan player. He does have Marauder Horsemen here. It looks like in total 3 groups to do some skirmishing, go after backline tools, like a F5 handgunners or huntsmen or cannons. It's always nice to have these guys as dual purpose. On top of that, they can actually do okay work against single entities. He's got some hounds, of course, a whole front line of marauders, it looks like, all the way into the sunset. I think there's 1 group of berserkers somewhere. Let's see, marauders, spearmen. No, it's mostly just like marauders and kind of chaffy troops. And obviously, like, a lot of Norscan players do this because they can use some Marauder Chieftain and some of the other hard-hitting monsters to kill the greatsword. So he's got marauders. He does have the Marauder Chieftain. He does also have a Deathcaster for Spirit Leech and Buna against my heavy cav, which will be very good against my Demogryph Knights. He's got Norscan Ice Hounds, and it looks like a couple of groups of armored skin wolves, which he's going to be trying to get in my backline, I would imagine. So let's get the show on the road, guys, and see how this goes. So Marcus Wolfhart is going to be unleashing his first mighty shot here. I believe we already got 1, but here comes, I think it was the focus shot of the Amber Bow. No, I think he already did it, and then I canceled it for some reason. But we did get 1 shot initially, which did some pretty good damage to the Chieftain. Probably did about 800 damage, so I can't complain. So the Huntsman being pressured very aggressively here, I obviously have to fall back. The Skin Wolves coming in, the Mammoths coming in, there's Frost Hounds kind of nipping at the heels of my troops. So the Huntsmen are going to be falling back behind the front line and will be switching their focus fire onto the big Papa Mammoth. In the front, the Great Swords of Sigmar are going to be leading the charge against these Marauders, and this is going to be a great engagement for them. They'll make easy work of these guys. And some Spearmen on the flanks are going to be engaging against the Spearmen of Norsca, which is probably a losing situation for me, but nonetheless, it should be okay. So we do drop the Hunter's Net right here, and we get a nice Hunter's Net here against the Marauder Chieftain, and the Demogryph Knights are going to get a full charge in here. And man, that did not last long, but nonetheless, we accomplished our goal. We got some really huge damage. Granted, we are getting counterpunch now. Some of the Demogryph Knights have overextended, and you can see the Moss of Savagery are coming in, and it looks like a Spirit Leech is going to be going down as well. Now in the back line, King of the Dead is trying to get some of his hounds back here. Norscan Warhounds and other troops are pouring into my back line, getting a couple huntsmen, but basically, like I said, this is where the Demogryph Knights are just so good. You use them as a mobile hammer. I pull them back. The Royal Turfgryph Knights also cause terror, which is so good. And oh, did you guys see that? Marcus Wolfhart literally just shot that mammoth in the eye, just no-scoping that guy. But this is the great thing. Marcus can sit here. He can get pot shots on the Chieftain, who took a hammering from those Demogryph Knights. And then from here, the Huntsman plus Marcus Wolfhart, assuming I can kind of contain and protect my back line, can just tear him to shreds. So Marauder Chieftain is going to be getting broken here. Some Skin Wolves are going to be charging in, but that broom is quite persistent. Demogryph Knights get the counter charge. We pick off a couple of these Skin Wolves right here, and these guys are going to be getting sent back to the Frozen North. I don't know how they ended up in Oakenhammer, which is like south of Vampire Count territory, but We won't ask question. So the Warrior Priest does have the Hammer of Sigmar popped, which helps us fend off those Skin Wolves even more efficiently. The Greatswords over here on this flank are able to win that fight very handily, and you can see, like I said, Greatsword's very, very good here. Soulfire Bombardment is going to be going down. It does some okay damage against these type of troops, but of course is better against lightly hammered blobs. So if we look in the front line, my Greatswords are still going firm. 41 kills here, 51 here. They're winning pretty much all their fights. The Marauders are able to win the fights on the flanks, however. Marauders, of course, that came around the sides can beat Spearmen. Spearmen are just, a very cheap chaff unit. And, obviously they're good against large units, but not so much against infantry. But the Greatswords are holding very firm, and the Demogryph Knights and the Huntsmen are still shooting, which is the most important thing. And Marcus Wolfhart's online. He's shooting, he's doing damage, he's happy, he's cackling, and he's telling his boys to have a little bit of faith. So here we do have the pit fight between these large units. Demogryph Knights do, of course, have pretty good armor, and regular Skin Wolves, aside from the Maws of Savagery, don't have the best AP. They're still not bad against demis, but the Demogryph Knights should win that fight in a vacuum. Huntsmen are shooting as well, going into some of these doggies over here, and these are the Maws of Savagery, so certainly a pretty choice target. And the Hunts Marshal is still hunting down the Marauder Chieftain, who has come back. Basically, if the Mammoth were to come back in here, for example, and just wreck my Greatswords, that would be one of the few chances I think Norsca has of getting back in this game. If they broke my front line, got a terror route, got into my Huntsmen in the back, that could certainly be a very kind of a downward spiral. Marcus Wolfhart's going to keep shooting, though. He does have his sights locked. Oh, it's just like the cinematic. He's got that shot. Oh, I thought he was doing the big shot there, but he does lock a net right here. We're able to pin down the big mammoth. Oh, come on, Marcus. I was just talking you up about how cool you are. You have like this giant mammoth in front of you at point blank and you miss, but it's okay. So Warrior Priest is going to pop the Shield of Faith, Hammer of Sigmar. Demogryph Knights are coming in, and Marcus Wolfhart is now going to be getting a big shot. He's like, you know what, guys? That was an embarrassment. Let's get it back here. Here comes the shot, and a swing and a hit. So Marcus Wolfhart with the snipe, with the KO, able to do some great work right there. So good stuff. Now, the Greatswords winning most of their fights. Like I said, 97 kills, 73 on these guys, and 74 on those guys. Huntsmen in the back are being pressured, but the fact that we've been able to keep them, for the most part, alive this entire game is super solid. We've also been able to get some good shots against the Marauder Horsemen, who are large targets, pretty much like the choicest of the choice targets for Huntsmen. And the Demis, again, sweeping everywhere they need to be and just breaking off any threats. So well played to King. It was certainly a fun game. I think that build is very, very solid against Norsca. Now, if your opponent knows it's coming, they can obviously prepare, but I think if you're just going into an all-comers match, it's going to be very good. Greatswords will do well on the front line. Typically, the things that beat down Greatswords can usually be dealt with by Marcus and Huntsmen and Demogryph Knights, so it's well-rounded for sure. And the Warrior Priest is also a very good choice. I think his buffs are really solid, and plus the Grand Soulfire Bombardment. If they go very wide with infantry, like Berserkers, you send him into the Berserkers, you use the Soulfire Bombardment, and you're able to generate some really, really good staying power for sure. So Marcus Wolfhart, yeah, I think he's an ace. I think that, honestly, he's probably one of the best choices in the Norsca matchup, like even better than Karl Franz and some of those other characters. And I think Franz is good in almost every matchup, and Franz is an absolute beast in the Norsca matchup. I mean, he can beat down that Chieftain and the casters, and arguably is a little bit more efficient there. But what's cool about Marcus is he's very good at killing the characters, plus he's also cheap, so he allows you to get more Greatswords and Demogryph Knights and things like that. But yeah, I think this build's very good. Give it a try, guys, against your friends who like to play Norsca. Let me know what you think, and yeah, I think it does it to it. Now, as far as the Norscan build goes, let's go ahead and do a little bit of theory crafting on how you would deal with Marcus, because it seems like it is a very, very tough situation for them. Granted, I think going very wide and swarming can be good, maybe mixing in some AP like the Miststalkers, things like that. But yeah, let's go take a look. So well played to my opponent, King of the Dead. You're going to be seeing a couple replays from him. I think I already posted the Dread Saurian one a couple days ago, but anyways, we'll see. So well played to him, and let's go take a look at an exploratory build. So we're going to go to Norsca. I used to consider myself a Norsca main, like when they first came out, but man, I've definitely slipped here. So Throg is a little bit too risky, I think. Maybe getting Wulfric. I don't know if I like the Mammoth choice there, so maybe just getting him on a horse so he can like maneuver and maybe assassinate Marcus at some point during the battle could be good. But the problem is like he can't heal, and he is potentially going to get sniped like really hard. So it's kind of a scary thing. I mean, maybe Throg, since he does heal, I mean, he can get gooned, but at least he can heal himself. That's so scary. I mean, how do you really hide from that? So maybe you go with Wulfric and you just have to be very, very cautious and actually just like hide. Just make sure you're in the right situation. So let's get a couple Marauder champions with great weapons to anchor the center, and then we'll get 4 regular Marauders to pressure the flanks, which I think should be fine. We can even get like a couple spears there as well to help out against like horses and stuff like that. So from here, I do agree. I think the Armored Skin Wolf pick is really good. Maws of Savagery are so expensive, but yeah, I think it's kind of necessary at this point. We'll get 1 Norscan Ice Wolf, 1 regular Doggy just to kind of pressure Huntsman and things like that. Now, as far as the caster goes, let's see. Shadows is okay. I think Death is a really good choice. I think King was 100% on it there. And his build is probably better than mine, just to be 100% honest, but I'm just kind of like theory crafting with you guys. Now, do we want Javelins? Marauder Hunters with Javelins could be somewhat efficient against some of the Demogryph Knights, and it gives you like steady pressure, so maybe bring a couple of those guys. And like now you don't have as many big targets for them to kind of snipe out. But what I would like would be the Miststalkers. They're 1,600 though, they're so damn expensive. But they'll be a really good... I mean, I guess Marauder Champions are already going to be a good fight against Greatswords. So what you do is you like unit the Greatswords in the front that the champs are fighting. And that's going to give you some really good punch in there. And then from here, I mean, we might as well upgrade these to Frost Doggies if we can. And then just Chevron these guys. I mean, this is something... It's a little bit narrow. But I mean, okay, we have the champs. We have Spears in the flanks to help out with Cav. Marauders around the width. 2 Norscan Ice Wolves and Javelins are very good against Franz. And they're also quite good against... Demogryph Knights, so I think that could be something that could work. I don't know, it's just an idea. It might not be good, but give it a try. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care.